Hey guys, in this video I am going to show you how I create this sweatshirt design using my Brother Innovis VE2200, which is a single needle flatbed embroidery machine. Stay tuned. Okay, so while I'm stitching out another project that's finishing up on my machine, I'm just going to show you real quickly how I pull up my letters to create my design that I'm going to stitch out on this shirt, okay, or sweater. So I have Sew It Pro open, and this is the icon, the little sewing machine icon down there. That's the Sew It Pro icon. Now I do have Embroidery on here, but I have not learned how to use Embroidery yet. So I'm just going to stick with Sew It Pro for now. And Sew It Pro is really easy. It is not expensive either. But I'm going to go up here to this little folder and I'm going to click open. This is going to pop up. Now, if you've been working in this already, it's going to open up to the last folder that you were in. And so it's in the folder that I need. And I'm going to be using a font for the main part. It's going to be Simply Sweet Applique by Designs by Juju. And let's see here. I need a uppercase G. Let's pull that in. I do not want auto recovery. Now it automatically opens up in a 4x4 box. So I'm going to hit my hoop. This pops open and it's in Brother. So I'm going to change this to the biggest hoop that I have, which is that 11.81 by 7.09. Okay. So I'm going to change that hoop size and I'm just going to move this G up here because I need that up high anyways. So now I'm going to go over here to the insert lettering, the info pane. It's called the info pane. So I'm going to click the info pane and this will open up and I'll select the rest of the letters that I need. So I need that E, that N. Now I need a dash. However, in this font, there isn't a dash. So I'm going to use this equal sign and I am going to edit this design just a little bit. I'm going to go up here to where it says cutting toolbar, click that, and then I'm going to click the eraser, and it sounds like my machine is out of bobbin thread. Now the eraser will pop open and I am just going to go through and erase just this part. Now be careful when you're using the erasing function because it doesn't always erase correctly to where it'll stitch, or stitch correctly I should say. But now I've erased that part of the equal sign because I'm making that a dash. I'm going to go up here, I'm going to hit close. It's going to ask me, do you wish to perform erasures before closing? Yes, I do. So now that's there and now I have a dash. Okay. And so then I'm going to go back over here. I need my X and let's put this in the right place. So I'm just going to line this up a little bit. To get it to where I want it. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm just highlighting this to see if my dash is kind of center and it could stand to be moved up a little bit. So I'm just going to move that up just a little bit. And my child is in there playing video games, of course. And let's see here. I think that's even enough or level enough. So now I've got to find the font that I'm going to do the wording at the bottom, which is the same process. I'm going to go through this time. However, instead of clicking that folder, I'm not going to click that folder to find my font, because if I click that folder, it's going to open it up into another tab and it's not going to be on this design. So I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to click Merge. And so now I need to find the font that I want to use with this. And let's see here. I do like Designs by Juju's fonts. And I think this time I'm going to use the Joey font. If I can find it. it's something that I do remember the names because I use them so often. I should just pull them all into a separate folder so I don't have to do all of this hunting. But let's see here. Did I pass up the Joey font? It's pretty far down there. Typewriter font, I like that font too. But Joey is more of a, I guess I want to say a rounded type font. So let me see, where is this font at? Okay, there's Smoothie Shop. There's Simone. I like the Simone font on my pot holder. Okay, there's Joey. And so I'm going to use the Joey font. But before I actually go through putting in all of my letters, I want to just see how big the letters are going to look, you know, compared to this part. So let's see here. I am going to go and see why my machine stopped real quick. Hit pause and I'll be right back. Okay, so that design is almost done stitching on my machine. Sorry about the going back and forth with my conversation, but I have Joey font pulled up and I'm still really thinking about what I want to put as like the bottom or the punchline of this shirt. And I'm thinking Gen X because only the strong survive. We are the smallest generation that's living right now from what I've read. So let's see here. Yeah, let's see what the B looks like. It's kind of wonky, but that is too big. Let's see what the next size looks like. Okay, that's better. I'm going to delete that one. And let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure which size I'm in, but I'm going to stay in that size. And we're just going to type out because, nope, that's the wrong size C, isn't it? Some digitizers will put the capital before the lowercase and others do just the opposite. Lord, if that child doesn't quit screaming while he's playing a video game. Because, okay, now we're going to do only, and then we're going to select the N. Let's see here, L. And where's that Y at? Y, okay. And now the Y will pop up there, and I'm going to bring that down a little bit lower because that will drive me crazy. And I'm going to space these out as well. And let's see here. I'll space all of this out. And really I could have done it later, but I just figure while it's on my mind, let's just go on and space these out. I'm just going to circle this or highlight it and just move the whole piece over now so I can continue spacing this out. And when I put the highlighted box around it, I just had the left pointer finger held down on the mouse so that I could draw a box around it to kind of highlight all of it. Okay, and so that is okay there. Okay, because only, and we're going to say the, and we're going to move that T to the second line. And where's my H at? And E, only the strong is, let's see here, strong needs to be a capital S. T R O N G. Okay, only the strong, and there's that need to pull that. And let's see, we'll pull that over this way just a little bit because I've got to space all of this out and line it all up anyhow. And I do like to sit my letters down on a line just to make sure that they're balanced or even with each other. And then the spacing in between each letter, I do not know how you can dictate what the spacing will be. Let me bring this all the way down to the line. But like I was saying, I don't know how you can dictate what the spacing will be. But I just kind of eyeball it to see how I like the way it looks on the screen. And then just go with it. And let's see here, I'll move that over just a little bit. And I'm going to move this over. But then I'm going to highlight both of these together and bring it centered into the hoop. Okay, this is that center line right there where that little black dot is. That's showing that it's centered. And I'm going to come up and do the same thing with because only. I thought that's what I was going to do. Let's go from the top of it because I don't want to capture the... Okay, so this is going to be a problem. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go back up to this info pane and I'm going to click that. Now, the Joey font is all green. It's just one. The part up here where it says Gen X, that's an applique. So there are literally 4 color stops for each one. But for now, we're just worried about moving the because only up. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to hit shift and I'm going to go through and click down each one. Okay. Okay, I had to put my phone on the tripod so that I could show you this, but I'm holding my finger on the control button and I am left clicking the mouse to select each one. I don't need that much. I just want because only, and that will allow me to capture that and just move it up a little bit. Okay. And I'm not sure if I want it to be that big. I'll see. But then I'm going to go through and highlight this and move it up just a little bit. So did I center that or not? Sometimes I do have to double check myself to see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, yeah, it's centered because the center line, well, the center line is there. Okay, so because only the strong survive. And so now I've got to go back to that info pane up here. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. So I'm going to click the info pane. Okay, and then that'll pop open. And scroll down and I want to type out the word survive. I think I want survive to be in a different font. I think I'm going to put survive in the Georgia font. So I'm going to go back up here to that little file folder. And I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to come out of this and go to my file for Rivermill Embroidery. Rivermill. And I'm going to use their Georgia font. And let's see here. That is the 1 inch. Let's see how the 1 inch looks. Find that capital S. Oh, yeah. I didn't hit merge. Remember when I told you you can't hit the folder? I was supposed to hit merge. So I'm going to close that out. There's no need for that. And I'm back on the folder where my design is. So I'm going to go to file and then click merge. And I'm going to go to Georgia font and Rivermill Embroidery. And so now we'll do this again. Look for that S. And let's see how big that S is. That is not big enough. Let's see here. I'm just going to scroll through the info pane to see what the next size. Oh, that's too big. Definitely too big. Let's see, which is this the S that we're working with now? Oh, that's a different size S. That's still too big. Even though I'm thinking I could make this middle section smaller and use that big S. I mean that size font, because I would like for Survive to be a little bit bigger. So, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this, and for the fonts that spell out because only the strong, I am going to highlight all of it. I'm going to change the color, and I'm going to change the color because this moss green is used as part of the applique as well, and I don't want my machine to get confused, and I don't want the colors to all be merged together. So I'm going to change it to this magenta. And then there is a function up here, and it's up at the top. Okay, it's up at the top here where it says edit. Click edit, and then you'll see join threads. If you click that join threads, it'll give you some options. You can join all threads same color, all adjacent threads of the same color, or join threads of same color starting at. Now, I don't want to join all threads of the same color yet, but what I will do is join all threads of the same color starting at number 21. And that way, all of those are now just one stitch, one thread change, okay? And so now, because I want to make this a little bit smaller, there is a resizing tool, but let me preference this with a caution. All designs cannot be safely resized. For example, I know that this applique cannot be resized. The way it's digitized, if you resize it, it does not stitch right. If you keep it an original size and just select the size font that will work for you, it will stitch out beautifully. But I have tried to resize that particular font, this applique, and it does not resize with clean lines and everything. It makes the design messy. But for the Joey font, which is this purple part right here, I have resized the Joey font in the past, and so I'm going to resize it just to make it a little bit smaller to accommodate the word Survive to be a little bit bigger underneath all of it. So I've got this part selected. You see that little dotted line around it? When I'm saying highlighted, that is what I mean. I know that it's not truly highlighted like a yellow highlighter, but this is the part that's selected. So now I'm going to go up here to the feature that says Tools, and then there is an option to resize pattern. This is going to pop up. Now I keep the ratios locked, and the auto adjust, all of these will be checked off. So I keep all of those checked off. And then as far as width, I am going to decrease it by, I'm going to try 10%. So to decrease this from 100% by 10%, I'm going to change it to 90. So I'll put 90 in there because that is how Sew What Pro thinks when we're talking about subtraction or decreasing. So I'm going to click OK and see if that is small enough for what I want. Let's see. Let me move this, and I'm going to select, well, goodness gracious. I thought I was going to select the top and then move it out of the way, but, well, I still can. Just bump that up a little bit so that it's, I don't want it right against the hoop, but now I will move that up there, And let's see now if, oh, I'm sorry, I went to the info pane. Now I'm gonna see if this S will fit where I want it at. And it's not gonna fit. So do I want that to be smaller? No, not really. So let's delete that S and we'll see what the next size is. And I'm literally just scrolling through here. That is definitely too big. And I am just scrolling. That's too small. So let's go back up to the top, because there are a few different sizes here. And you could very well just go back to that file, merge, and find the letter that's in the size that you want to see if it'll work. Okay, that's the one that I said was too big. Okay, let me set this S right here, because I've only decreased that middle part by 10%. I'm going to see if I could decrease this by another 10% for a total of 20% as far as reduction. And remember, it's 100% is where it starts at. You want to decrease it by 10%. So you're going to make it 90. Okay. Nope. I do not like that. I'm just thinking that'll be too big and bunchy. So, okay, I'm going to delete that. I'm definitely going to go with the smaller Georgia font for the word survive. Let's see here. The dog must be acting up down there. Which that'll be fine as well, because the smaller fonts for the Georgia font are a satin stitch. And I'm going to just put that there. And I'm going to put the word survive in all capital letters. S-U-R-V-I-E. Is that how you spell survive? Yeah, I think so. And this is a little bit taller than I like. I don't know. I'll just move it down a little bit. But okay, I'm going to line these up the same way that I did with these up here. I'm going to just line all of these up. Oh, I don't like that. Let's move that down onto a line. First, I'm going to space it. I keep saying line it up. Space these out. Okay, so there's your word survive. And I'm going to take, let's go back up here to this info pane button. This is Prussian blue, so that's okay to stay that color. I just wanted to make sure that this blue wasn't Prussian blue, because I am going to go through and merge all of these colors that are light colors just to make the applique process a little more simplistic. But I want to merge. At this point, I actually am just going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the edit button. And we're going to join all threads. And then we're going to join all threads of the same color. And I'm going to just move this back so you can see what happens when I click that button. Okay. So now instead of having however many we had before, you have 6 color changes for this. Okay. And you actually could change the wording down here, if you wanted these to be the same color, that would make your design even easier if you did the final colors the same. Now, what I will do, because what color am I going to use? I'm going to be using this gold color. Yeah, what I will do just to make this design a little bit easier for me, I'm going to select a couple. Okay, I'm going to select the Prussian blue, the magenta, and the satin stitch part for the Gen X part is the red. So I'm going to select that as well. And I'm going to go down here while they're all selected. I'm going to go down here to this little box down here, and I'm just going to make all of them red. Okay. And so now I have all of this will be in red, and that means when the Gen X part stitches and that applique is pretty much finished up, it's going to go through and it's going to stitch all of this as well. So I'm going to go right back up here to the edit button. I'm going to select join threads, and once again I'm going to do join all threads same color and click OK. So now that gives me even less. Okay, now it did change the order a little bit, but the way it's going to stitch out, like I said, it'll do the satin stitch on the part that says Gen X, and then it's going to stitch out the rest of it. Okay. So with Sew It Pro, you do have a feature that will show you, let me click out of that. There is a feature that will show you how items will stitch out. Okay. If you go up to the top here, you'll see these little buttons. And if you select those buttons, it's going to stitch everything out. And you can literally see how it's going to stitch. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it was only 4 colors for the applique. Okay, and so you get what I'm saying. It's going to stitch that part out and then the because of. So let me stop that, and I'm just looking. Okay, yeah, that's it. So I am going to save this, and I'm going to take the design to the computer, get it uploaded, and I will meet you all at the computer. I mean the table, not the computer. Goodness gracious. Okay, so before we get started, let's just talk about the items that I'm going to be using. The sweatshirt I'm going to be using today is by Terra Sky, and it's found at Walmart. Then the thread that I'm going to be using, this color is called Doe Skin. It is by Coats. It's the Silco polyester or trilobal polyester. Oh my goodness, I should have just said polyester. It's a polyester thread, and it's by Coats. Instead of fabric, I am going to be using some Caesar glitter in the, I don't know what color this is, but I think it was called champagne. But I'm going to be using this as the applique fabric, but it's going to be the heat transfer vinyl. And I'll just peel that off of here when I'm ready to use it, okay? Because the carrier sheet is for if you're using it in your vinyl cutter, and then you would weed it and then press it onto whatever you're pressing it on. Now, the stabilizer that I'm going to be using today, it is the classic cutaway stabilizer by All Stitch, and it's a really soft stabilizer. It doesn't have any type of adhesive on it. You know, I will use 808 in a heartbeat, but this is actually embroidery stabilizer from All Stitch. And then the needle I'm going to be using is a Oregon 7511. This is the ballpoint needle. I don't know if that's focusing or not, but it's the 7511 ballpoint. And then of course I've got my embroidery scissors and some regular scissors, an iron, got an iron, Gonna need that. And then I'm gonna be putting this all on the 7x11 hoop, and this is for the Brother Innovis VE2200, which is a embroidery only machine. So let's see if I could get this focused okay, just to make sure. I work hard to try not to let you all see all the junk in my craft room, but it's just a whole mess in here. Okay, I think that will let you see a little bit better. When this is all said and done, I'm going to have to run a good lint brush over this because I've been doing towels and pot holders and I have lint everywhere. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to hoop my stabilizer, just measuring off a little bit extra from the actual size of the hoop, just to make sure that it gets as tight as possible. You don't want to just barely have stabilizer in your hoop, okay? Now, the way you're supposed to do this is to actually hoop your shirt inside the hoop with the stabilizer. I don't do it that way. I have not figured out a way to get rid of hoop burn, you know, that little imprint that ends up being around your clothes sometimes. So until I can find a foolproof way or a sure way of getting rid of hoop burn, I'm going to be floating my stuff whenever I can. So I also have needles because I will be pinning down everything that I float. So for this, let me take this tag off because I don't need it. And I'm not sure if you can see or not, but I like to fold it. And sometimes I do press over it. But for time's sake, I'm not going to press over it. Now, I don't know where the design is going to fall exactly on here. But I know I want the design to come at least 3 inches down from the collar, okay? So I want the design to come to the top of the design to be here and no further up. I don't want it to be all up in the neckline, okay? And it probably could stand to be 4 inches down. No, I think 3 will be good. 3 should be good. Let me put a pin here and I'm going to open it up and see where that is about. Yeah, I think if the design started right here, it would be okay. So what I'm going to do, because I need to see where the design is going to start at on the hoop, I'm going to go over to the hoop and I'm going to do a trace of the design just so I can see where it's going to fall at. Okay, so I'm over at my machine. I've got my flash drive in that I saved the design to. I'm going to press that USB button. And then I'm going to look for my design. It shouldn't be too hard to find. See here, I know it's got a lot of red in it, so let me find it. Did I save it? I don't know if that is it or not. Yes, that's it. Okay, so now I have it pulled up, but it's not ready to stitch or show me where it's going to fall out on the mat. I need to go down here and hit the embroidery button, and then it'll come up right here. And so now it's ready to actually stitch out if I was ready for it to stitch. I like for my designs to face a certain direction, so I'm going to see if I can rotate this. It won't let me move it while it's in the hoop. So I'm going to take the hoop off. Sorry for all this extra, but let's see if it'll rotate it now. Okay, so now it flipped it. And it's just something about the lines. Because of the size of the design, it falls like right in the lines, and so it doesn't give it space to actually rotate if it thinks that, okay, that's the size hoop you're going to be using. So now I'm going to put the hoop back in the machine, or on the machine, and make sure you lock it down. And so to find out where this design is going to fall, I'm going to use that trace feature. So I'm going to select that button, and now this shows me exactly where the top of the design is. And so I'm going to lower my pressure foot, and then I'm going to lower the needle, and I'm going to hit it again just so it'll make a dot right there. Okay, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to go to the trace feature, and I'm going to find the bottom. Oh, that's going to be real close. Lower that, and that's going to be a dot right there, which really I didn't need the dot down there. I really wanted that dot at the top. If you could see it on here, I can't see it while I'm looking at the phone, but it's there. So now I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to go and hoop the shirt. Okay, so this is the little pin mark where the needle went in, showing where the top of the design is at. Okay, so I want to make sure where I want the top of the design to be on the shirt, that I line it up right. So I'm gonna have my folded shirt, and remember I said about 3 inches down, give or take. I'm gonna poke this pin right here, just because I'll know where the ball is. That's the center mark. I might make things a little too difficult for myself, but this is what makes sense to me. So now I'm going to take it, and this is not going to be difficult because it's a big oversized shirt. And I've got my pen, and I see my little mark right there, and I'm going to just pin it down. Is what I'm going to do. I just want to make sure it's all smoothed out. I think I got this pin caught in the shirt twice. There it is. Okay. And now I'm not going to leave this pin up here, because if I do, there's going to be a problem when it starts stitching up there, right? But I'm going to straighten this out. You could use 505 or basting spray. I prefer to just pin things down sometimes, most of the time. Now, I would imagine if I was doing a whole lot of these on a regular basis, I would have to hoop it just for the sake of time. But this works for me. Pin that there, and I'm actually going to try to pin it down as good as possible with the pins that just have the little balls on them. And I should have ironed it just to have that crease line so that I can follow from, you know, point to point as far as it being centered, because I do like to know that my shirt is centered. And actually, I'm going to iron this so I can have my line. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so that really only took a couple of minutes. And so I'm going to hurry up and re-hoop so that, see, I want to make sure I'm measuring that. I can stop wasting time. It's 3 right there. I'm sorry if you can't see what I'm doing there, but I'm just pinning it back in place. Let's move all this extra. And that way I have my line right here. And I can make sure that it is centered, because I feel that little nodule on there right there, and that little nodule is right there. So my shirt is centered and lined up right. I think one of the things you don't want to do is have a shirt stitched out crooked. So let's get this pinned down. And I'm just kind of smoothing it out, trying not to stretch it. So I'm just going to go through and pin this down. Okay, now I'm going to take that one out and I'm going to move it up higher. Okay, so remember I moved that from there because it's going to stitch part of the design right there, and I don't want it to get caught up on it. So now I'm going to go and thread up the machine and get ready to start sewing or embroidering. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to thread this machine. And now most brother single needle machines, you're going to thread it pretty much the same way on all of them. Now because I'm using this 5,000 millimeter cone, I'm going to use a cone stand. Okay, so to me it just saves money to buy a big cone of thread versus a bunch of little spools that will go up top there. I use that every now and then if it's a color that, like, I ran to Walmart and had to get a little thing of embroidery thread because they don't sell these cones here. But this is a cone I got off of eBay and it's by Coats. And I think I'm going to start switching over all of my threads to Madeira because I get a lot of thread breaks, and I have my threads down in a plastic bin now because I was keeping them in a shoe rack or overdoor shoe holder, like one of those plastic things. But then I remember somebody telling me something about your thread getting old or dry rotten, so I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and thread this. Now, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I'm going to make sure the thread loops through the top loop of this thread stand, okay? Because you need it to be up there. And then the rest of it is the same. I always hold back a little bit on my thread because when I took my machines to get serviced at one time, the technician told me to hold it kind of back at an angle just to make sure that it is going through all the discs. And then this part is pretty simple, I think. I'm going to try and zoom in so I can... Am I going to zoom in? No, I'm just going to take this off and show you. See if I could get this phone off without stopping the video. Okay, so you've got your thread coming through here, up and around. It goes down, it comes up, then the what is that called, the uptake hook or whatever, and then you bring it back through. Now I have this all coming through here already. Make sure it's going through that little, or behind that little whatever that little hook is at number 6. Make sure your thread is behind that, okay? Then you're going to bring it up here and through there, and then there's a little side hook as well. You see the little side hook there? Loop that over. Now, the auto threader will work. The trick I have found with the auto threader is don't pull this right here off that side where it will trim it. That little hook does have like a blade or something in there, I think, because it trims it really easily. But if I trim it, it doesn't thread it. But if I leave it long and I push the button to thread it, there's no problem. So now my needle is threaded. I just need to pull it through. And I just pull it through until that other piece that I want to trim comes through, and then I cut it. Okay? So that's really all I do to thread it. Now the bobbin thread, it is a 90 weight bobbin thread that I get from All Stitch. And I had been getting Embroidery bobbin thread, but just for the sake of getting everything at the same place, I just get my bobbin thread there, and I wind it myself as well. But it's just a 90 weight bobbin thread. So you always want to make sure your bobbin thread tail goes through there, and make sure you put your lid back on. Okay? So I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to get the shirt on the machine. Okay, so this embroidery project will not require any toppers or water soluble stabilizers over the top. What it will require is that you pay close attention and not leave your machine unattended, just because there's so much shirt and you don't want your machine to eat a shirt up. This is why people will ask me if I will embroider something for them, be like one of their personal items. I won't do it. The liability with all that, I don't have time to be playing with somebody's clothes, especially when I don't have a clue as to how much they paid for it or anything. I'm going to flip these arms, the sleeves inside out, just to kind of allow it to rest away a little bit better. And let's see here. You can, use your clips or whatever and pin this up and out of the way. But I'm going to be right here, and I'm just going to see how this works out. The first step is going to be your placement stitch for the Gen X, okay? Lower the pressure foot, and I'm going to hit start. And we'll see how this looks. And I think I do only have my machine at 600 or 900. I don't know. It's not going very fast. That didn't do something there. I'm hoping the size will be enough impact. Now I will pin or clip this up after this after the glitter is put down, because I'm sitting here thinking about how long the satin stitches will take, and I don't want to stand here holding this shirt. I'll still be watching it, but I don't want to have to hold it. Okay, so now I'm going to take the shirt off of the machine, leave it in the hoop. We're keeping this in the hoop to the end, but I'm going to take this off of the machine, and I'm going to go to the table so that I can put the glitter in place that I want to applique down. And sometimes the bulk of this makes it a little tricky. Let's see, where there's a low point on here somewhere, but I may just have to feed this all the way through. Everything's not easy with this. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna take this to the machine. Where is it at? Can y'all see that? I hope you can see that. And I'm gonna put the applique on in the area I want it to be in. Okay, so like I said, with this here Caesar glitter, I'm just gonna take it off the carrier. But before I do that, I need to measure and see how much I actually need, because I don't want to take all of this glitter off of the carrier sheet. So I'm just gonna cut what I need. I do not cut straight lines, but I try. Set that over there. And then, let's see here, thread everywhere. I'm going to take this, and this is like a real shiny carrier sheet. I'm just going to manipulate it until it actually comes off. Or until I could peel it off, okay? And it will just peel off. This is real sticky. And although you do see some glitter on the carrier sheet where it pulled off, it doesn't really flake that bad. Now, this is the back part. It has the heat applied adhesive on it. I am not going to iron this down just yet. I'm going to place it down here. And I'm going to take it back to the machine, and I'm going to have it tacked down in place, okay? Alrighty. Okay, so, excuse me, I have it on the machine again, and I really didn't have to take it off if I would have known how much I needed as far as the applique part, but this is the part I tell people, don't do this at home, because nobody recommends that you hold your fingers on the embroidery field when you're doing a project. And if you do choose to try this at home, please do not take your eyes off of your machine. Don't take your eyes off the needle, and be aware of where your fingers are at. There's going to be so much excess glitter. Goodness gracious. It seems like a waste because the letters are so small. But after this stitches and I trim all the applique and get rid of the excess, I will iron it down to hold it in place so that, you know, that heat application can be activated. Just checking to make sure nothing's getting caught anywhere. Alrighty, it's all tacked in place. So now I am going to go through and trim it. So back to the table. Okay, so it's still on the hoop, and I'm going to use these little embroidery scissors. They're kind of curved a little bit. They're definitely smaller than these, and I think I have a smaller size of these. I lose things, and I ordered these off of Amazon because somebody told me that they were good, and I was like, okay, do I need 6-inch or a 4-inch? So I got both, and I lost one. So I don't know if this is the 6-inch or the 4-inch, but whichever. I still keep using these because I'm used to it. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to trim. And now when you do applique like this, it is to your benefit sometimes if you just use a contrasting thread color so that you can actually see your stitch lines. It's like right now I could see the stitch lines very vaguely, but it would have been so much easier if I had to use like red or black or something that stood out, because it's going to get covered up anyways. But I honestly just did not want to keep changing thread. And I do try to get that as neat as possible because it would be my luck the satin stitch won't cover it. I got that okay. And so this is the G. It's got a little opening there. I love glitter HTV. I really need to get back to doing more patches with it. I think that's in there good, or trimmed in there good. Just try to make sure you don't cut the actual shirt, and that would be terrible. The E ends right there. That's why. And let's see, this is the fun part, getting into all those little slithers or whatever you call them. And I will have to clean that up a little bit better. I think you can almost see the design coming to life. Sorry, I'm not doing a whole lot of talking right now. I just don't talk a lot sometimes. And to be honest, I'm trying to make sure I'm seeing this actual stitch line and not cutting up stuff that shouldn't be cut up. Let's see here. We only have 2 more stitches left. The satin stitch is the longest. Let's make sure I can get as much of this as I can as far as the closeness. But most digitizers do make their designs with the satin stitch for appliques to actually cover up a decent amount. I can't even get my scissors in there. Okay, let's see. No, that's not going to work either. Yeah, I think that's it. I've never really used these, but okay, so to make sure I don't have any actual HTV ironed onto my shirt where it's not supposed to be, we get a lint brush, roll over it so it could pick up any excess before I iron, because I do want to iron this down just to make sure it stays. And I'm going to just pray that I trimmed it up enough. Okay, so where is my iron? And it's supposed to be a dry iron. I don't really have any setting recommendations for the glitter. I mean, when it's being done on shirts for heat press and there's nothing else holding it down, of course you're going to follow the instructions at whatever it says, if it's 305 or 320 degrees, whatever the degree is that you're supposed to stitch it at. And then go from there. Okay, so that's there. Now I'm going to take this back to the machine. I'm going to run the satin stitch, which will actually stitch out the words as well. And then it'll run, the last stitch will be a bean stitch going around the satin stitch, okay? So let's get back to the machine. Okay, so I'm back to the machine now. I cannot figure out where my clips are at. So it looks like I'm going to be holding this shirt down while it stitches. So I'm going to just kind of babysit it here for real, for real. This here, I'm going to go ahead and just hit pause and take this needle out, because the design's not going to shift and that needle would have been running away. And like I said before, the fonts for Gen X and the fonts for Because Only the Strong, those are both by designs by Juju. The Gen X is the Simply Sweet Applique, and then the part that says Because Only the Strong, that is the Joey font, and then the word Survive is the Georgia font from River Mill Embroidery. And I use these fonts a lot, but I just like to make sure I do tell you correctly where I got it from. So it looks like it's doing the satin stitch pretty good, and it's covering up the parts that weren't cut as smooth and as close, so that's a win. And I'm just going to let this continue stitching, and I'll check back with you. So far so good, still stitching along. Things were going so good. So I didn't have this part of the shirt pulled away, and it started stitching, and I wasn't paying attention, and so it started stitching itself together. Well, the machine started stitching the shirt to itself. So I am going to go through with a seam ripper because it's not a whole lot, and I'm just going to go through and pull those stitches out and restart that segment of the stitching. Let's see here, I gotta get this off of the machine. And I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but I am just going through and breaking the stitches of just that gold thread and trying my best to not rip the shirt open, rip any holes in the shirt. Don't want that to happen. Some mistakes happen. I'll just take this all the way off the machine. But I'm going to leave this on the hoop, and I'm going to look on the back side here and pop those threads. And I'm glad I looked up fast enough to where it's not a whole lot. So I'm literally just going to go through, cut these threads. If I can see them, goodness. It's not as easy as you would think. And that's why people ask me, well, can this be taken apart, or can this embroidery be removed? Embroidery in my book cannot be removed. I am aware that they have like stitch removers. I just can't. Not for anything more than just, you know, something small like this. So I'm going to just work through this and get this here out, and then I'll get this stitching finished up, okay? It's not too difficult either. It's coming out pretty well. Actually, that is one of the downfalls about a flatbed. Big items like this, you really do have to keep a close eye on. And I'm going to find my clips before I do the rest of the sweaters that I need to do. So I'm going to sit this in my lap and just go through and pull these out, and then I'll get it back on the machine. Okay, so I got the threads out. Let me try to get this in focus here. Got all those threads out there. And so now I'm going to put this back on the machine. I'm going to back it up so that it goes back to that S at the beginning. What did I just do here? Got this caught up in there. I'm going to go back to where the S initially starts, and I'll show you how I do that. Sliding that in there. This is a little bit bulkier than the machine probably wants to stitch, as far as, you know, everything getting in the way. But anyways, just gonna move that pin out because I'm not gonna need it. It should not shift. And oh, got a whole lot of thread going on. I'm gonna lower the pressure foot, and let's see if I could get this on the screen so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, if I wasn't in this screen, I would want to go back to where I would be able to get this closer for you. Almost to the end. This is the E stitching out, and as you can see on here, it's right there towards the end. And so the last thing that'll happen is the final stitch, which will be the decorative stitch that goes around this here satin stitch of the applique. Let me take that needle out because that's not doing any good. Now for this part, which is the final stitch, I am going to be holding the top of the shirt out of the way to make sure that it doesn't fall in. But I absolutely love the way that bean stitch looks going around the applique or around the satin stitch. So I'll let this finish and I will show you the end results in just a few moments. Alrighty, so this is done. And all I have to do now is, I don't know what happened there. I just need to clean it up a little bit as far as removing the stabilizer after I get these pins off of it. This total time, according to my machine anyways, was 51 minutes to stitch. Of course, there is consideration for actually doing all the middle steps, you know. So it took more than 51 minutes, of course, but that's what the machine says is the total stitch time. I'll clip this here. I don't know what happened there. Now, the only thing that I don't like is right here. I didn't trim it close enough. And remember, I just trimmed and I ironed, so I can't lift that up to clip it. So I'm keeping this sweater. I am a Gen Xer. So what I will do is trim this here all off of the back. I'm not gonna cut too close, but close enough. I don't think that's going to be a problem as far as like itching or anything. If it was a baby, I would certainly put a cover soft type thing over it. I cannot think right now what it's called, but there is a product that is designed to go over the back of the embroidery work for baby clothes, or anybody with sensitive skin for that matter. And I'm just cutting the excess stabilizer off. I think that'll be fine. And now let's turn this right side out. Let me see, let me get this straight so that people don't think that it's stitched crooked, because it is stitched evenly for the most part. Okay, so that is it. She is done. Yay, nay. Well, that is all I have for you now. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, please like, share, subscribe. You can hit the notification bell if you want to, but you know I don't upload videos very often, so it's not going to ring very often. But please leave me a message, a comment if you have any questions, or if there is a step that I wasn't clear about. I definitely will answer you. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.